Right, so I'm here with Ali. We've just finished recording a fabulous episode for the podcast, and I've invited her to share with us some highlights from her human design chart. And then we're going to pull out a couple of bits and just have a little bit of a deep dive into the gene key side of it as well, which is a little
I
bit
don't
new.
know about, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, let's see what we uncover. So why don't you, given that you are very well familiar with your chart and what that means, give us the kind of highlights.
The highlights. Okay, well, let's start with the important things then. So I know that I am a generator. So if you've never heard that word before, that means that I am here to, or we are, if you're a generator, to light up the world. As long as we are following our kind of like sacral fire, which is what makes us a generator, as long as we're doing what lights us up, we can keep going forever. A bit like a generator that creates electricity. As long as we're fueling our sacral with all of those wonderful things, we have the potential to light everything and everybody else up, and people can come into our presence and take or use, absorb that energy as well to light themselves up. For those people who don't have those centers lit up, like a projector, can really fuel themselves from us as generators. So I remember being told, oh, you're too much. And then hearing the fact that I was meant to be too much was just like, oh my God, I can literally just be me and that's all fine. So the generator energy really is allowing yourself to be that beacon and that shining light of whatever it is that brings you joy or happiness. So just so happens that joy is my thing. So I get to bring more and more joy. So generator. So the other things to know about the generator, I would say, are that you can follow, or you will be at your most potent light when you are following your authority and your strategy. It's the most important thing I think is next to know, your energy type, and then your authority and your strategy. So my strategy is to respond. As a generator or a manifesting generator, it is to respond. So this was so key for me to understand, was because I would always struggle when people would just ask me open-ended questions like, well, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What color do you think I should paint this wall? What do you want for dinner? I'd be like, I don't know. But then the minute someone would say, well, do you want burgers or do you want fish for tea? I'd be like, oh, a burger. And it was just like, I'm responding to what's being shown for me. Or if I didn't know, it's like, yeah, not that. And they'd be like, well, do you want to go out for dinner? I'm like, oh yeah, I want to go out for dinner. So you want to give things to respond to. So my husband is a projector, so he's a great visionary. Are you a projector?
No, I'm a manifestor actually. I'm just
Oh,
gonna
you
let Bloody
manifestor.
up into
Wow, that's really that's unusual, isn't it? So James can see things, and I'm like, I can't see what you see. You're going to have to paint the picture for me, and then I can respond to you and tell you if that lights my sacral, because I am a sacral authority. So for me, when I'm given things to respond to, like, do you want this or this? I can be just like, oh, yes. And it's this feeling of a like, oh, yes, I want that. Or, oh, no. Like, it's really obvious. It's like this immediate response of a yes or a no. And if I'm not sure, I'm like, give me another option until I do know it's a yes or a no. So that's really important. And then that then ties in with your signature theme, which means that you know when you're in alignment. So my signature theme as a generator is this feeling of satisfaction. Now, satisfaction to me is a really dull word, so I don't use it, but I know in my body it's just like this fullness. It's like, oh yes, that feels good and yummy and delicious. And so if I know that life or love or relationships or work is feeling yummy and satiating, I'm like, I'm doing the right thing. I'm on the right path. So I think your energy type, your authority, your strategy, and your signature theme are probably one of the most important things that you need to know.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, an interesting thing that I've learned through my studies is, and I'm not a generator or a manifesting generator, so this is like a more of a theory thing, is that you hit the nail on the head in terms of like when you're doing something that lights you up, it is literally generative, right? So generate
more and more you're
more
doing.
energy.
Yeah.
By the same token, when it's not something that lights you up, it's degenerative. So like literally that comes in, which kind of I think is important to sort of say, because we're not necessarily always in alignment with our energy type. And then in the episode that we recorded just now, you talked a lot about the 3-6 in your profile. I think that's fascinating for you and the story that you shared. So tell us a bit more about the 3 and the 6.
So when you've understood and you're working out that that's how you're living in alignment, then you can kind of like move through the different levels. So your profile lines really are explained as your gifts, your natural gifts, and how you can work with those energies really. My lines are a 3 and a 6, and what makes these two fascinating is that up until the age of 50, or around about the age of 50, you will be operating as a line 3-3, because you don't come into your line 6, and this will make sense in a minute. You don't come into your line 6 until later on in your maturity. So a line 3 is really almost like, I like to describe it as a bit of a playful, curious energy. It's about going through life and allowing yourself to try lots of different things, and they may look like failures to other people, but to you, there's just so much fun and play in the experience of it. And actually, from conditioning, I used to think that that was me failing, until I realized I was a line 3, and it wasn't failing. It was just, I'm here for the transitions. I'm here for the trials, because I'm here to learn so much. Because when I mature into my kind of like maturity in my kind of like 60s, 50s, then I'm here to lead from experience, because I know this.
Yes.
The other thing that I've understood about the kind of like the line 3 is you go through these different stages. So up until you're about 30, you are going through you've got a lot of energy, and you've got a lot of energy to keep picking yourself back up when you have these perceived failures or trials. You can keep going. It's just like you don't mind so much. In your 30s, and kind of like between your 30s and 50s, this time is a real time and period of deep healing, which when I look back and think, holy shit, through my 30s and 50s, I went through a lot. But the reason why I can come out now and kind of, I'm just about to turn 50, is that I did the healing work on that journey.
Yeah.
So that I can go and say, do you know what? It didn't make me bad, and I'm not ashamed of any of it. It's just like, I learned so much, and I've learned so much, probably more than most. And that's why I can lead from this position of the role model, which is the line 6 of, and this is what I know now. And I can teach you what I know, and how I went up and down and up and down and through the fire. And this is how I survived, and these are the techniques. So it fits so perfectly with everything that I wanted to do. I couldn't have written it more perfectly, could I really?
It is perfect. Perfection. Absolutely. Perfection personified. And of course, because that is what you were designed to come here.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So let's have a look. What do you know about your incarnation cross? Does that resonate?
No, I don't know much about that. What do I know about that?
What is it? Do you know? It should be listed. What?
Yeah, I'm finding it now. Okay, incarnation cross is my right angle cross of Maya.
Not heard
61, 62, 32, 42.
61, 62, 30.
42.
42. Okay, Maya. I've not heard of this one before. Let's have a look at what that says. So the incarnation cross is kind of meant to be like, it's like the big 4. It's your sun and earth on both your conscious and unconscious side, right? So it's the big 4. It's like 70% of your essence. So this is like a biggie.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be so interesting to see what this reveals, isn't it?
It is. Okay, so I've got Maya, but you are 61, 62. There we go. Is it Maya 4? What
it says in here is just a right angle cross of Maya, 61, 62.
Okay, well, I've got here Maya 4 is the numbers that you've given me. So the Maya on its own is 42, 32, 61, 62. So I'm going to go with the one that with the numbers you've given it to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what it says. You carry the energy to bring the unknown into knowing. This is the new and undiscovered knowledge of a new way of looking at things. You bring to the world an inner knowing, and by sharing it, you cause the world to reevaluate their position to accommodate the new ideas. So that's the human design language, and I feel like that's possibly going to resonate, but it's kind of a logical statement.
Yeah.
What I like to pull out of this is the Gene Keys language, because this gives us a bit more of a feminine language. And it also, with Gene Keys, we're looking at, it sort of takes the binary into the trinary. So we're not just looking at the 2 numbers, but we're looking at the shadow, the gift, and the siddhi.
Yeah.
Gate. So let's just look at 61. So gate 61 should be in your conscious sun. So on the right-hand side, the black top planet is 61, yeah? Okay, so this is your life's work. Let's have a look at what this says.
Oh my God. I'm quite nervous.
Love it. Right. Oh, okay. Okay. Right. So then the words don't always like resonate straight away. And this is the thing with Gene Keys, because it's more feminine, it's like a contemplative tool.
Yeah.
Right, the words it's given us. So the shadow is psychosis.
Yeah.
The gift is inspiration. and the siddhi, which is kind of activated when you can switch to the gift, is sanctity.
I quite like those words.
So what it says about this is, if we have this gene key, our life is a contemplation of death. We must not turn away from this work. It will fill us with life. The answers will come. The memory of the beyond will return in time. We must listen inwardly for the music of life and let it move us in creative work.
I quite like that though, because that all ties in, like the death to the life. It's just like, I think of, so it goes back to that revolution, doesn't it? And the cycle of life. And every time that something has died in my life, it has given me more life for the next thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that that kind of ties in. When we talk about, when in the podcast, when we talked about, you know, so much death and loss and leaving of identities, people, marriages, it's kind of like, well, of course, because the dying of something gave birth to something even better.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes total sense to me.
And then, so within gene keys, there's like a sequence called the genius sequence that takes into consideration all these 4 numbers in your incarnation cross. So if we were to look at the second number, the 62, that is your evolution. That's what you came here to learn. So we can look at that. And then the third one is, I can't remember what it's actually referred to as, but this is what keeps you healthy. It's a radiant sphere. It's what keeps you healthy. And then the fourth one, the 42 for you, is your purpose. So let's just look at the 62.
Yeah.
So this is what you're here to learn. So you've got intellect, precision, and impeccability.
Interesting. So intellect, I suppose, is my mind, and I do a lot with the mind and the mindfulness piece.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that I am far from precise.
Mm-hmm. And again, it depends, like, is it precision of mind, or like, I think that's the contemplative bit. Is like, what does, because this is the gift. Like, you activate this gift, you have consistent access to this energy of precision.
Yeah.
And the impeccability. Yeah. I mean, again, it's like, it's another round to explore.
Yeah, God, it's amazing, isn't it?
This is what you came here to learn. And then let's just look at all 4 of them.
Why not? It's
Why
fascinating.
not?
Then I can go away and contemplate them.
Exactly. This is interesting given what we've been talking about. So the gene key 32 is your radiant sphere. This is what keeps you healthy.
Yeah.
You've got failure as a shadow. You've got preservation as your gift. And I don't know if this is how you say it. Veneration.
Veneer. It's like a facade, isn't it? Veneration.
Veneration.
I think that's interesting, because I've had to fail in order to preserve myself.
Yeah, but you've chosen preservation over pushing through.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating.
Yeah.
And then finally, 42 is your purpose sphere. And like I say, it's a bit of a journey, because you go through your life's work to your evolution through to your radiance and then your purpose. Okay, so the shadow in this is expectation. The gift is detachment, but the siddhi in that is celebration.
Oh. Isn't that fascinating? My purpose, you know, we talked about it in the podcast, didn't we? The expectation that I had to, you know, my dad unwittingly put on me, was like, you can have it all. I am meant to have it all. But I had to detach from his way in order to find my way. And now I'm in this fucking celebration phase of, oh my God. That has been my purpose. It was always meant to be that cycle of failure and, you know, preservation being my gift. God, it is amazing, isn't it? What it knows. And it's just like, oh my goodness, of course you can map it back, even if you don't know it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder what would have happened if I had known this, like, at the start of my journey. Would it have made it easier?
Yeah.
I don't know. Smoother? knowing that I was, but I think possibly the whole reframing of failure, I think, because I always did think that I was a failure until I kind of learned to embrace it as part of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah, I love that. Well,
What are
thank you.
you? What are your lines?
So,
You're a
so
manifester.
I'm a manifester. I'm a 2/4 emotional manifester.
Yeah.
So obviously
Yeah.
the 2 is the hermit. It's like this natural passion. Don't always see what I'm very good at. I
Yeah.
need other people to tell me. The 4 is like the more the networker, the
Pulling people together.
yeah, just like
Yeah.
needing to. So you've got the hermit and the networker, and I used to think they're like two extremes, but they're very complementary of each other now. I can see that. I'm an emotional authority, so
Yeah.
there is no decision in the now. So I
Yeah.
have to sleep on it to know if I want a burger or a hot dog.
Yeah, exactly. You'll soon
Um,
find out. Let me tell you tomorrow. What do you want for dinner tomorrow? I don't know.
yeah.
Well, my eldest son is a 2/4, and actually
Okay.
knowing actually knowing all of my family's human design has been fascinating, because my husband used to say, well, why won't they do it this way? And why don't you do it that way? And I'm like, well, because we're not you. But then I was just like, ha, look at the evidence. You're a projector, 3-1. And I was like, then I would explain that. And then Tom is a 2/4 like you. And it used to really upset me. They go to boarding school and he would come home and he would squirrel away up in his bedroom. I'd be like, come and play, come and play. What have I done wrong? And it was like, bless him. He'd been so overwhelmed by being around so many people. He needed that, as you say,
Yeah.
hermit time. And,
Yeah.
he's coming into his own now of, he has some incredible gifts. And like you said, sometimes you need others to draw it out of you, but also as a line too, what can happen is that you just don't you can get quite frustrated with other people and just be like, why is it not easy for you? Stop asking me. You know what I mean? So that's why you
Yeah.
withdraw, because you're
Yeah.
constantly being asked people to come in and do things that you're good at, and so you need to withdraw to give yourself some time
Yeah.
off, so to speak.
Yeah.
My little son, he's a manifesting generator, and it would used to drive us so mad, but he would be doing this and then that and then this and then that and then this and then that, and we were just like, can't you just do one thing? But that it's like recognizing, well, that's what he's meant to do. Baking one summer, tennis another, golf this summer. God knows what it's going to be this summer. It'll be something completely different. But again, that's what he's meant to be. That's
Yes.
what he's here to do. So it's been fascinating understanding us as a dynamic, as in a family, and
Yeah.
just saying we're not meant to be the same. My
Mhm.
favorite line, and I quoted it out to my husband, I had to read it again last night, because he's always like, it's 1 o'clock, Ali, what's for lunch? What time? And there's one of my channels which is specifically, you don't do time. And I was like, I don't do time. It's just like, you get really frustrated and angry when people try and force you on their timelines. And I'm like, you're not meant to ask me about the time.
Love that. Yeah, it explains so much as well. And then we won't get into it, but there's that whole piece around, like, I'm a split definition, which means I've got a
Two
lot
voices.
of definition in my
Yeah.
chart. So I've only had 2 undefined centers, which is the ego and the sacral.
Yeah.
But I do have a split, so they don't all communicate with each other. But it's fascinating that Adam, my partner, is also a manifester, we're one
That's
of the rarer
unusual.
types.
Yeah.
So it kind of works that we sleep in separate bedrooms a lot of our time, just
Yeah.
because that's what we need for our energy. We
Yeah.
don't need to be around other
Everybody else.
other people's energy. And where was I going with that? Oh, like he has one of the gates, or he has 2 gates that can complete my
The
communication path.
cycle. Yeah.
And same with him. So it's really fascinating to see that actually when we come home and some of the topics that we then get to talk about is because we
Yeah.
have access to that energy within each other.
I
And
love that.
it's great.
When you complete everything.
Yeah.
I think all of it is fascinating to take, even just to understand your own journey to date. But also, I know you and I both use human design when we work with our clients. And I think it's been fascinating with the clients I've either worked with in terms of their health or their life, their decisions of what they want to do next, or even in their kind of like leadership. I think it's such a
Yeah.
powerful leadership tool, because it can tell you how you are meant to lead and how you can unlock your potential as a leader. And everybody's is different. And especially when you start to look at some of the gates, or like your throat chakras, and like how you're meant to communicate and how you can find your most powerful way of communicating and leading. Like for me, mine is all about storytelling.
Mhm.
So when, you often hear people saying, like, give out your top tips. I'm like, oh God, I find that so boring. I'm not going to do that. But for me to tell a story, and in doing so, telling my tips is much easier for me to do it. And I think that is so incredibly powerful. Again, another one, like, you know, the spleen, when you can unlock and see what you're frightened of. And when I, you know, that for me was just like, oh my God, I've got so many of my fear gates switched on, but then just recognizing them, that that's all it is. It's just a fear. And it's a tool to help you work through it, and how I can cleanse it. And it just, the whole thing is just fascinating. Like my chart is very open. So I take on a lot of other people's energies, which is probably why I'm so good at my coaching, because I'm such an empath, because I can feel before they even say anything.
Yeah.
But what I used to get was a lot of headaches and a lot of exhaustion, probably from at work, from the burnout, was because I would take everybody's energy on, but I didn't know how to clear it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
You
didn't know
didn't
how to
know
clear
that's
it.
what was happening to you,
No.
right? Yeah.
It's so powerful.
It really is. It really is. And we could talk forever about
12
this.
hours.
That's a whole nother episode, but we won't. Thank
Whole
you.
series.
Yeah, I'm going to do a series with all my guests
Series.
going forward.
Yeah.
So thank you. You're my first.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And yeah, let's see who's next.